Hello guys, open at page 26, culture. Let's listen to the text, then let's do the activities.
Track 1.17. Where life is really hard. It's the end of the winter. Most people have been inside for weeks. They haven't seen the sun for a long time. But some men are outside. It's bitterly cold, with temperatures of around minus 45 degrees Celsius, and the freezing wind makes the situation difficult for them to bear. These men are hunters, and the survival of the people they've left behind in the villages depends on how successful their hunt is. Akicha is one of these men. He's been out hunting for more than a week now. While he's away from home, he stays overnight in a little igloo that he's made himself from ice and snow. The igloo protects him from the freezing wind. Inside, there's a little stove for cooking and a small stone lamp which provides light. Together, they help to create a temperature of around 12 degrees Celsius. Right now, Akicha is several kilometers away from his igloo. He's riding his snowmobile along the coast, far out on the frozen sea. Suddenly, he can see something in the distance. He stops his snowmobile and checks through his binoculars. It's a seal. Holding a screen of white canvas in front of him in one hand and his gun in the other, he moves forward, cautiously hiding behind the screen all the time so that the seal won't notice him. If he's lucky and his hunt goes well, the meat he brings home should last his family for several weeks. Akicha and his people are part of the Inuit community. Most of them still live a very traditional life, a life that makes them dependent on hunting seals and whales. Some of them also live off the reindeer they keep. The Inuit are indigenous people of the Arctic Circle, which means they've lived here for so long that they feel the land is theirs. The Arctic Circle is a huge land area that belongs to a number of northern countries: Russia, the USA, Canada, Greenland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland. The northern environment is an exceptional habitat. Temperatures are low during most of the year, and summers are short, which means that plants can only grow for a few weeks every year. If the reindeer eat the moss that grows in a certain area, it can take up to 30 years for the plants to grow back. This is why Inuits who make a living from keeping and breeding reindeer have to be constantly on the move with their herds. For most of us, life is less hard than it is for the Inuit people. But maybe we can learn something from them. Their traditional way of life is a model of living in partnership with nature, rather than exploiting and destroying it.
Okay, we have listened to the article. Let's answer these questions. What are winters like inside the Arctic Circle? The winters are long, according to the passage, bitterly cold and windy inside the Arctic Circle. Number 2, how does Akicha survive when he is out hunting? Akicha survives by staying overnight in a little igloo that he makes himself. What does he hunt and how does he do this? He hunts seals and whales, and he does it by hiding behind a screen of white canvas and shooting the animals with a gun. What does he hunt? We answered this question. Number 4, why can't the Inuit who keep reindeer stay in one place for a long time? They can't stay in one place for too long because the most that the reindeer eat takes a long time to grow back. They therefore need to move to a new place to find more food. Turn the page. Vocabulary part. This is the article. Let's read and match. Continue to be enough. Lost. Not taken with them. Left behind means not taken with them. From one evening through to the next morning. Overnight. Not staying in one place for very long. On the move. Tolerate. Put up something. Bear. I bear something. I'm tolerating. I'm putting up with something. Large groups of animals, herds. A type of plant, moss. Raising animals, breeding. For example, I breed 2 cats. This is writing part. Read the article, what happened in Berlin in these years. This is the article. Let's read it. The fall of the Berlin Wall. For 28 years, Berlin was a divided city. Ever since its construction in 1961, a huge wall had stopped citizens from East Germany visiting their neighbors in the West. Many people had tried. Some were successful, but many more died, shot as they attempted to get to the other side. In 1989, there was a number of radical political demonstrations across Eastern Europe as the people of countries such as Poland and Hungary protested against their governments and managed to change them. On the 9th of November, the East German government announced that their people were free to visit the western side of the city. That evening, thousands of East Berliners rushed to the wall and demanded that the gates were opened. The border guards didn't know what to do. While the crowds were singing and the guards phoned their bosses for orders, it soon became clear that they had no choice but to let the people pass. On the other side, the crowds were greeted by West Berliners with flowers and champagne. People climbed onto the top of the wall and began dancing on it to celebrate their new freedom. People started arriving with sledgehammers to try and smash down the wall. Many grabbed bricks as souvenirs. A little later, the government sent in bulldozers to demolish the wall. The wall that had been divided a city for nearly 3 decades was soon gone, and 339 days later, the 2 nations of East and West Germany also came one. We have read the article. In 1961, the Berlin Wall was built. In 1989, there were a number of radical political demonstrations across Eastern Europe, as you see in the article. East Germans were allowed to visit West Berlin, and this led to the fall of the Berlin Wall. In 1990, the 2 nations of East and West Germany became one. Okay, find example in the article of a sentence containing in the past simple and the past continuous, the past perfect continuous, descriptive verbs, expressions referring back to the past. Find them and underline them, please. Okay, let's move on. Which paragraph sets the scene for the main events? Look at the look at the picture and have a look at the paragraphs. Set the scenes for the main events. Paragraph 2. Look. Sorry. This paragraph sets the scene for the main events. Paragraph 3 describes the main action. Paragraph 3 describes the main action. The event describes the historical background. Paragraph 1 describes the historical background of Berlin Wall. This is homework. Think of an event that shook the world. Do some internet research to find out more about it. Choose the most important and interesting details. Organize the information into paragraphs. Think about the language you will need to describe the event. This is your homework. Please write an article for a school magazine or for yourself about an event that shook the world. It should be around 200 words, okay? This is the end of our lesson. See you. Bye.